Why do we fight against each other? This question echoes through centuries, from ancient ruins to modern social media debates. In a world priding itself on civilization, why does the conflict impulse persist? Why do societies build cathedrals and also weapons? And why, even in peace, do individuals create enemies in daily life, projecting hostility? If you seek to understand the deep roots of conflict, you should consider the insights in this video essential viewing, at least once in your journey. War is not an aberration. It's a profound manifestation of the human psyche, an archaic pattern from biological instincts and social structures. The impulse to fight hasn't disappeared, it has transformed. The battlefield might be digital now, but war's logic operates in human behavior's shadows. This video analyzes war as a recurring symptom of unconscious forces: fear, need for control, shadow projection, drawing on thinkers like Jung, Nietzsche, and Foucault. Understanding this is key not just for global conflicts, but for daily rivalries and polarizations. You're invited to explore how war shapes our identity and reflect on your role. Because the question isn't just why we fight, but how we can stop fighting ourselves and others. To understand why humans fight, we must look at ancient history, not just modern conflicts. The noble savage myth, prehistoric harmony corrupted by civilization, is challenged by archaeology. Lawrence Keeley's War Before Civilization shows war is as old as humanity. Evidence from ancient sites, skeletons with weapon marks, fortified villages reveals violent death was common. Pre-state societies often had higher violence mortality than 20th century industrialized nations. But primitive war wasn't solely economic. Pierre Clastres suggested for many indigenous societies, war prevented tyranny by keeping groups mobilized against a dominant internal elite. This means the conflict impulse is deeper than civilization. Creating an other, an enemy, has always been key to collective identity. War shaped territories, myths, and beliefs. Is war just historical, or is there a biological drive? Philosophy and psychology offer insights. For if war began in prehistory, today it continues within the human mind. The conflict impulse is inscribed in the human psyche. Thomas Hobbes saw man in a natural state of constant competition. Man is a wolf to man. For him, war was natural, peace, a fragile construct by power. Rousseau saw primitive man as peaceful, corrupted by private property and institutions, making war a product of civilization. Freud, in Civilization and its Discontents, proposed an innate death instinct, thanatos, a destructive impulse needing control. Civilization is a tension between eros life and thanatos destruction. Thus, war is an expression of these deep impulses. It's not just the other making us fight, it's something within us projecting an enemy. Here, Carl Jung's shadow concept is key: repressed, dark aspects of ourselves, fears, unacceptable desires, unrecognized. This shadow is projected onto others. The enemy becomes a receptacle for what we reject in ourselves, fueling conflict. War is externalized internal battles. If these impulses are unconscious, how are they manipulated by power structures? Who benefits from creating enemies? We must understand discourse. If war emerges from deep psychic impulses, shadow projection is a powerful mechanism. Jung's shadow is everything the ego rejects. Denied parts gain strength in the unconscious, seeking manifestation. When individuals or groups don't recognize their flaws, they project these onto the other. The enemy isn't real, but a psychic construction of what we don't admit in ourselves. Nietzsche showed morality can arise from resentment, powerlessness transforming into moral superiority, attributing evils to others. Hatred of the enemy is often self-deception. This has lethal consequences. Projecting the shadow onto a group leads to dehumanization, justifying violence. History is full of examples. Propaganda creating barbarian enemies preceded genocides. This dynamic persists. Social media amplifies projection and polarization. Conflicts become good vs. evil. Language is moralistic. Opponents are caricatures. In crises, the need for a scapegoat intensifies. Leaders can exploit these emotions. The enemy, real or invented, consolidates power. The enemy is first a psychic construction, a mirror allowing us not to see ourselves. But who builds this mirror? Power and discourse. War is constructed through language, images, narratives shaping our perception. Words can transform a human into a monster. Discourse creates reality. Michel Foucault showed how power operates through discourse. Institution state. Media, education shape consciousness, define truth, creating the field for enemy construction. Every conflict needs a narrative justifying it, presenting itself as objective truth. National mythologies, religious doctrines define us versus them. The other is an absolute threat. Destroy or be destroyed. Zygmunt Bauman noted rational societies commit atrocities not from monstrous members, but from discourses justifying violence as defense or progress, e.g., the Holocaust. Today, social media are enemy factories. Algorithms favor polarizing content, fuel anger, build discursive bubbles. War's discourse is commonplace. The rhetoric of elimination is normalized. We see the world as good vs. evil. The more radical the narrative, the harder to recognize the other's humanity. But if discourses shape battlefields, they can also deactivate war's mechanisms. This requires recognizing these narratives daily. The conflict impulse transcends formal war, seeping into everyday life, social structures, relationships. Modern war is diffuse, an invisible presence, proving oneself right at any cost, marginalizing groups, humiliating opponents. All are small manifestations of hostility fueling great wars. Contemporary societies are in continuous symbolic war of discourses, identities, status. Workplaces see rivalries, families, struggles for control, romance, resentments. Public, political space shows polarization, us vs. them. Debates are battlefields, differences, existential threats. Language is aggressive. Social media is a combat arena. This isn't just external, it resonates within. The impulse to project the shadow, create enemies, seek moral superiority is deep-rooted. When the environment feeds these, symbolic war is part of experience. Result, an emotionally exhausted society, on high alert, viewing others with suspicion. This invisible war has costs, deteriorated mental health, corroded bonds, fueled fear. If war is so ingrained, can we break this cycle? Yes, through self-knowledge and shadow integration. If war rises from unconscious forces, the true battlefield is our interior. Unconscious forces dictate reactions. Jung, what's not conscious manifests as fate. Here is cycle of conflict. First step, recognize the shadow, individual and collective denied fears, resentment, envy. Awareness requires courage. Confronting one's darkness isn't comfortable, but allows transformation. The more one integrates their shadow, the freer from hostility-inducing compulsions. They see the other not as an enemy, but complex. Freud, civilization represses destructive impulses. Jung, repression feeds the shadow's violent return. True solution is integration. This is individual and collective. Societies encouraging critical reflection, empathy, authentic dialogue. Self-knowledge reduce hostility. Those feeding fear move towards conflict. How to practically initiate this? Recognizing the shadow is first, integrating it is the challenge. Unable to deal with internal impulses, we project them. The path to reducing war requires transformation, commitment to self-knowledge, consciousness, empathy. This transformation is individual. Confront beliefs, fears, prejudices. Jung, the shadow needs integration through observing thoughts, reactions, intention. Why feel anger? Demonize others? Looking with radical honesty dissolves their power. Develop empathy, active listening, seeing others' perspectives. This must expand to social, cultural structures. Question hate speech, us versus them language, education, media, politics need rethinking. On an intimate level, change how we relate to ourselves. Abandon internal battle, self-judgment. The more one reconciles with their shadow, the less need to project. Result, not utopia, but a more conscious society, transforming destructive impulses. This work never ends. We've seen war isn't isolated, but a manifestation of deep psychic forces. The impulse to create enemies, project fears, persists. The true battlefield is within. As long as the shadow is unintegrated, it's projected. We seek external enemies for unacknowledged aspects, seduced by simplistic good versus evil narratives. Transformation begins by accepting the other isn't the true threat. The greatest enemy is self-ignorance. Jung, shadow integration is the path to individuation, wholeness. This requires courage to look within, humility to recognize our own seeds of hostility, discipline for conscious action. This is also collective. We need spaces for self-knowledge, authentic dialogue, narratives that recognize shared humanity. Every small gesture counts. How we handle conflict, patience offered, not perpetuating demonizing discourses. These change human relationships. Abandon the illusion of eliminating all conflict, but learn to deal with it maturely. War persists where unconsciousness reigns. Now, I invite you to reflect. What patterns of conflict do you recognize in your own life? How do you deal with your own shadow? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience can help others. If this video spoke to you, if any part resonated, if you're committed to this process, please click the like button. It helps these vital messages reach others. And, of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Here we always seek to go beyond the surface, bringing reflections that challenge, disturb, but also, hopefully, liberate. Thank you for watching. This journey is ongoing. Keep exploring.